place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. We're so glad to have you in the service, whether that's here in our building or online as we live stream. Together, we create a multi-generational, beloved worshiping community. Just a small reminder that for the time that you are in the building, if you will remain masked, unless, of course, you feel inspired and need to preach, in which case, come on up and take off your mask, and I'll put mine on. As I was saying, throughout the month of October, we are accepting donations to support the work of Hearts and Hands, Faith in Action. It's a neighbor helping neighbor ministry, and you will find information at the table right at the back of the chapel, along with envelopes where you can put your designated contributions to them, and then just pop them into the offering basket that will be back there.
Good morning. Excuse me, the ears. My name's Angela Warren, and I'm the Director of Faith Development for this congregation. My pronouns are she and her. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that once belonged to the First Nations people of this area, the Haudenosaunee. May we be good stewards of the land and courageously cultivate community with all living things. We begin our time together by lighting the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We offer these words from Reverend Scott Taylor and the Soul Matters worship team. Today we return to the shelter of each other, to arms that hold us in the midst of the storm, to voices that help us hear our own, to hearts that accept us for who we are. May we be for each other a source of safety and sending. May we offer each other both comfort and challenge. May this place of peace lead us to share peace with others. Let us begin. It's been said that Unitarian Universalism is the religion that puts its faith in you, trusting each individual to engage in the spiritual journey and to reach your own conclusions about spiritual matters. We do that in beloved community as we support one another in faith and in friendship. And in that spirit, this congregation has created a covenant, a sacred promise of how we will strive to be with one another. Please join me in speaking our covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. And as I'm the Director of Faith Development, I wanted to just share with you what we have going on. In the morning, we are studying Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass. That's a study that will go on through Thanksgiving. And we'll be sharing some of those learnings with all of you online or in person at a Thanksgiving service on the 21st of November. We are contemplating continuing that study with another group, so if you're interested, let me know. We also are including continuing all faith development community activities where we encourage creativity, we encourage each other to blossom and grow. And the first one I'm going to offer to all of you, and there's actually little packages. And I'm going to stack them all up on the back table. And as you leave, if you're interested, please take one, just return the clipboard and your final poem. Basically, you create a poem out of a magazine page with words that become meaningful to you and then share with others. So the instructions are all there, all the tools are there, so please feel free. And then just return to me or to my mailbox, which if you don't know where that is, it is down the hall to the left, and then to the left again as you approach the other exit to the building by the portico and the little free food pantry. So thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of the
We
service.
begin with a prayer by Reverend Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one. Our prayer is that we may live into this aspiration. I'm about to share with you, I hope, a music video that was created a year ago this week. And it will give you a bit of a trajectory. If you've been following our services online or since we've been back at church, you know, we often do music videos, and it can be easy to think, well, we're just borrowing all that from the internet. And we do borrow quite a bit from the internet, thank goodness. But there's also been a core of musicians who have been showing up a couple times a month to learn a piece and record a piece, and sometimes 2 or 3 pieces all in one evening. And Adam Schmidt has been guiding us through this time with his wonderful musicianship and helping to direct us and give us great ideas about how to live into our music more. And so this next piece is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, which is a super favorite of mine. And the context for this particular video, as I said, it was taped a year ago this week. So it was just before my birthday, and as we were recording up here, my dad was sitting at the back. He was living with us at that time, and we didn't know we only had 2 more weeks with him. So this is special.
Blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart
Today, as we consider what it means to be a people who cultivate relationship, we will revisit a familiar theme, that of covenant. It is the foundation of Unitarian Universalism, as well as our highest aspiration in creating beloved community. Covenant is the end, and it is the means. We are fond of saying that we are a religion of deeds, not creeds, acts of service rather than conformity of belief. But it is covenant that binds us together and directs our acts of service. The concept of covenant is not original to us. Because our history is steeped in the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, we find our origins for covenant there, with God's promise to humanity. At the end of the flood story, God provides a rainbow to seal the promise to never again destroy all of life with water. God promises Abraham that his descendants will be in number like the stars in the sky. And as the patriarch for three of the largest religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, that promise has certainly borne out. In the scriptures, we also find covenants made by people to God, as Jacob commemorated the place where he dreamed of the ladder to reach God with a large rock, an Ebenezer, making the sacred promise to remember the nocturnal experience of glory. Covenants are also made between people. Later, when Jacob gathers up his family and flocks to flee his father-in-law's wrath after some pretty tricky animal husbandry that just happened to benefit Jacob, he and his father-in-law Laban engage in a covenant, complete with a pile of rocks, known as a mizpah, or pillar, to bear witness. May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent from the other. That sounds so nice, doesn't it? But it's not a sweet sentiment that God look after the other and take care of them, but a reminder that even though they will be apart, God will be watching, so don't misbehave. And that's for reals. You can read that in Genesis 39. Covenants are promises, sacred promises. And they are sacred because they are aspirational. And because we are perfectly imperfect, we will always fall short of our aspirations, disappointing one another and ourselves. Martin Buber has called humanity the promise-breaking, and promise-remaking animal. Woven into each sacred promise is a thread of grace, of forgiveness, and second chances. A little earlier this morning, we shared our congregational covenant, the sacred promise of how we aspire to be with one another. We speak this covenant aloud frequently because we need to be reminded and to be held accountable. It's not just fancy words. It is the context of what we create together when we gather. We create compassionate community, even though we routinely get under one another's skin or disappoint each other. Now, this may sound repetitive, but we create compassionate community by being compassionate. Compassion is a choice. It is an active demonstration of grace, rooted in our deepest values of the inherent worth and dignity of each individual and the interconnectedness of all life. For many of you, these ideas are not new. As I said, they are the very fabric of who we are as Unitarian Universalists. So, please, gremlins, allow me to play this video. I hope we will take this to the next level, to Covenant 2.0, with a bit of instruction from our cousins in New Hampshire. Please work.
Religious and spiritual are two words that we use a lot, but we often don't have a shared understanding of what they mean. Sometimes people think that to be religious, you have to have a set of beliefs that everyone in a group adheres to. Sometimes people think that to be spiritual, you have to like meditation or yoga. Sometimes people use religious and spiritual to mean the same thing. And sometimes people will say very clearly that they are spiritual, but not religious. So, what does it mean to be spiritual? What does it mean to be religious? According to the Covenant Triangle created by Natalie Briscoe, spiritual and religious are two ways that we relate to our transcendent centers of value and power. This is a fancy way of talking about the ways we connect to something bigger than ourselves and to those things that are most important to us. We sometimes call that something bigger, that which is most important to us, our core values. We try to live out those core values in everything we do. Here at UU Nashua, our core values are wonder, authentic connection, courageous community, and love in action. So, in the Covenant Triangle, core values are at the top of the triangle. In the bottom left-hand corner, we put me. That's you as an individual. And on the bottom right-hand corner, we put we. That's us as a congregation or as a larger faith community. And the sides of the triangle represent the ways that individuals and communities relate to those core values. Spiritual is the connection between core values and me. It is how you as an individual connect to and live out those values. This could be an individual spiritual practice. It could be your individual commitment to working for justice. It could be the inspiration for your choices about how you live and love as an individual. Religious is the connection between core values and we. It is how we as a congregation or as a larger faith connect to and live out those values together. This could be coming together for worship. It could be our collective commitment to working for justice. It could be the way we make choices together about how to live and love as a community. Together, we live our values and we are transformed by them. The last side of the triangle is the connection between me and we, community. It is how you relate to your congregation or to your larger faith. It is the work you do to become part of the community. This could be through meeting new people and being open to learning from one another. It could be through a small group or taking on a leadership role. It could be as simple as showing up, being present to the community and to one another. In community, we find ways to connect and to be both spiritual and religious. And in the center of it all, we have covenant. Covenant is the promises we make together about how we are going to live out those core values, about how we want to be with one another and in the world. Those promises hold together the spiritual, the religious, and the community. So I wonder how you connect to the different parts of this covenant triangle. I wonder what you do in your life that you would call spiritual. I wonder what you do in your life that you would call religious. I wonder what you do in your life to connect to your community.
There's so much that I love in that video. I love the clarity regarding the difference between the words spiritual and religious. I love being able to see the relationship between people and values and how we live our values. On my 8th viewing of the video, it occurred to me that the covenant triangle is an apt image for engaged, beloved community. Or maybe you could call that the expectations of membership. In the diagram, you will notice that there are no dangling bits. Nothing that's just kind of like hanging around, being a spectator, not engaged, not part of covenant, of growing maybe spiritually as individuals, but not really working toward community and really not getting involved very much. You don't see any of that. All the pieces here relate, and they are all related to our core values. We might have to borrow Nashua's core values because they're pretty awesome. But our mission statement also talks to our core values, and of course our principles do. Covenant is the glue. Covenant is the heart. Being in covenant means working on ourselves, connecting with others, and living a faith that expresses itself in love and service. A healthy church is made up of people who are actively engaged in all of that. So I'll be honest with you. There are times I don't sleep so well when I think about church. I worry. I worry about those who have disappeared, those who have left in disappointment. I worry about the small and mighty group carrying a disproportionate amount of the load, and I pray that they find balance and avoid burnout. I'm sad. I'm sad about those that we've lost to illness and death, and those who are just no longer able to come to church. And I'm scared. I'm scared for our families who are juggling so much. More than anything, I want church to be a place of love and fulfillment, where we are recharged and find paths to greater service. At my house, when we manage to actually sit down together for a meal, we offer this grace. Perhaps you'll find it familiar. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. That's what beloved community and a healthy church look like. All giving what we can and receiving what is shared. Some of us are professional givers, and it's so hard to receive. Some of us are professional receivers, and it feels really daunting to try to give. But it's a balance. It truly is a give and receive, a give and take. Everyone engaged in individual spiritual practices, and everyone engaged in a religion, a faith that expresses itself in love and service, and everyone weaving the beloved community with threads of love and challenge, grace, and forgiveness. That's the vision I have for us as a beloved community. I am so fortunate. From my earliest memories, I have seen the power and potential in religious community. My grandparents were involved with the Gideons. You know, the folks who brought the Bibles to hotels and motels across the land. My grandfather would stand outside of schools in all kinds of weather and give kids mini New Testaments. I have conflicted feelings about that now. But what was apparent to me was the love that drove him to share what was of ultimate importance to him. And he didn't do it alone. He did it in a community of the Gideons. I would often attend the quarterly meetings of the Jamestown chapter of the Gideons with my grandparents. As a kid, I was the first grandchild, ultimately the only granddaughter, so I glowed, and I went with my grandparents everywhere, and they would take me everywhere, so I'd go to these meetings. At the end of every meeting, everybody would get up from their chairs, go to the perimeter of the building, and then hold hands. And together they would sing, "Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above." I just turned 59, and it's probably been a good 50 years since I attended one of those Gideon gatherings, but those words are etched forever in my heart. What a beautiful expression of covenant, of belonging, meaning, and purpose, which is something we've been talking about since we arrived back in August. I want that sort of connection and, a deep feeling of connection. Not just sort of a, yes, of course we're connected. We all say the same words when we say our covenant, and we all write UU Church of Amherst on our checks. That's not connection. I want that deeper feeling of being tied in covenant. I see it emerging every day as you move into leadership and service, as you console and comfort, as you ask for help when you need it. One of the ways this finds expression is in our weekly practice of pausing to hold one another in care in a time of quiet reflection. So let's pause for a time of reflection, to listen for that still small voice, however you name that. I will offer a prayer, and then we will pause, and I'll invite you to come forward to place a stone or shell on the labyrinth in honor of those people that you are carrying in your heart today. And if those people are you, that's okay. This is not just about caring for others. This is also about honoring and caring for your own needs. So please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who are in pain either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely or grieving, those who have been wronged. Holding in your heart the names of those needing love and support, I invite you to come forward as you will. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
I will follow you with solid, migrating clouds that fly with the wind, nearly calling aloud, and through the watchful night that embraces where you are. I will be your sky of stars. I will shelter you. 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 I will shelter you, my friend. I will shelter you. With a love that has no end, know that I will shelter you. Safe harbor I will make you under shimmering angel wings, an armor of seraphs imaginings, and with the soaring rainbow overhead, I will cast a silken canopy above your bed. I will shelter you. 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 I will shelter you, my friend. I will shelter you. With a love that has no end, know that I will shelter you. Know that I will shelter you.
I will shelter you, my friend. I will shelter you. This song, written by UU singer-songwriter Jim Scott, who was here just earlier this month, expresses to me the beauty of covenant, being shelter for one another, being present with a love that has no end. Living in covenant is never easy. We're human. We get exasperated. We work too hard on too little sleep or completely flake out. We dwell on disappointments and unmet expectations. And still, we come together to try to do better, to be better, to promise compassion and celebration of diversity, to seek wholeness for ourselves and well beyond ourselves. Creating and living into covenant in these times is countercultural. When the national anthem seems to have been changed to a rousing chorus of, "You're not the boss of me, you can't make me," it can seem like an impossible dream to weave a tapestry of belonging, meaning, and purpose that is rooted in generosity of spirit and putting others' needs above our own. Yet that's what we do. It is who we are, or at least who we aspire to become. Covenant 2.0 is a good operating system, but I think we're ready for an upgrade. So let's go deeper, reach higher, stretch our capacity, and discover something new and wonderful about what it means to cultivate relationship that is reciprocal, no dangling bits, but all woven together in love and trust. Let's challenge ourselves to create what I will call a synergistic covenant. I made that up. Please remember that when someone writes a book about it, that really, Reverend Michelle made that up and didn't have time to write the book. But if I do, then I'll pay for the whatever we decide to do with our building with all the millions. So all I need is a little time to write some sentences. So, synergistic covenant. This is new ground for me. It is inspired from Parker Palmer's Circles of Trust. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can certainly find Parker Palmer on the internet. And the book that I'm drawing from is called A Hidden Wholeness. So I'm still thinking about this. I literally, it came as a tiny spark, and I thought, hey, I haven't given that much thought. I think I'll preach about it. So this is just the beginning of more internal dialogue, and I hope that you will engage with me in this idea of synergistic covenant. Here's the sentence from the book that set my mind spinning and my heart racing. And I quote Parker Palmer here. "But no matter what the content may be, speaking our truth in a circle of trust always takes the same form. We speak from our own center to the center of the circle, to the receptive heart of the communal space, where what we say will be held attentively and respectfully." End of quote. The image of a receptive heart of the communal space, not just each individual, but the synergy that is created by joining together in covenant, in mutual care and respect, touches a longing that I didn't even know I had. It creates a possibility for something deeper and wider than any feeling of acceptance and care than we may have ever experienced. There is something magical, alchemical, that is created when we allow synergy to flow. It can feel scary. Its very nature is that which is greater than the sum of its parts. We can't explain it. We can't command it into existence. It has to flow out of what we bring, the openness of our own hearts. It is magical, alchemical, something grander than any of us, or even all of us. Yet this is exactly what we create when we gather together in worship. I speak from my center, from my heart, and I speak into the center of the circle of gathered hearts, trusting that something of what I have gleaned will resonate with you, will encourage your own journey, and that something more than I could ever imagine or plan will emerge out of that sharing. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, it almost happens. You might share with me on the way out that you experienced something, and yet by the time you get to your car, or if you're online, by the time you finish checking your email, it's gone. It's just a wisp of something that almost was. What if we could capture that? Intentionally create the container, which is nothing more or less than the depth of our covenant together, to capture and plant that seed. What if we could let go of our fear of disappointment, of not being enough, or taking on more than we can handle, and truly embrace the receptive heart of our communal space, the sum that is greater than what we bring to the equation? Close your eyes a moment. Imagine walking into a space where you could feel that communal receptive heart. And it didn't feel like it excluded you, but rather it embraced you, invited you to rest in the center of that love, that mutual respect, and the commitment to help foster your own compassion, to grow your soul. An invitation to spread your wings, knowing that the strong roots of faith would keep you safe and connected while you soar and explore. Open your eyes and take a peek around the room. Yeah, be clandestine about it, just, because you're all doing it, but be sneaky here. Now, turn around, actually look around. Who's here today? Oh, you online? Keep your eyes closed because you'll have to imagine the people that are next to you. That's okay. We can create that space, that freedom, that trust and connection, if we're willing to level up our covenant, our sacred promise of how we will be with one another. Everything you need is here. All the courage, all the tools, all the opportunities. Every week, with every interaction and Zoom meeting, with every act of service and demonstration of love, we build the bridges that connect us and lead us out into an often hurting world. Our faith finds expression in acts of love and service as we cultivate relationship.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. With building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me?
would make such sweet harmony.
Thank you for joining us in worship today. I hope you have been inspired and uplifted by sharing this time together. A reminder that you can support the work and mission of this congregation by leaving your financial gift in one of the offering baskets at the back of the chapel, and also your contributions for Hearts and Hands. And as I mentioned earlier, that will be available to you throughout this month before we send the check to them, so it's not too late. Please join me in our affirmation of abundance. We pick fruit from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig. This is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who will come after us. A benediction is a blessing, a way to close the sacred space we have shared and to transition to our regular lives, knowing that we are deeply connected even when apart. These parting words come from Robert Mabry Doss. For all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. For all who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step.